All right, let's go ahead and get started. Could oh, Michael, you've already
Yeah, I'll
signed up to be
volunteer.
designated note taker. Excuse me,
Sure.
stumbling all over myself. I don't see any new faces today, so we can go ahead and jump right into. Hold on, I'm trying to get everything set up on Zoom. Um, the RFCs. Um, I'm gonna just go to the open one really quickly. There's been some discussion on this that frankly I've not had a chance to look at. Um, uh, yeah, all right. So it looks like Jan and Dan have kind of, I don't want to say unilaterally, but have had some discussion about this. It looks like that there is some further discussion about potentially trying this out on Node.js from uh, Rolf. Uh, I don't know if you've reached out to him at all to talk to him about this.
He did bring it up. Like we've got our regular like Node.js team sub group meeting. So he brought it up there. And I think he kind of asked, like, is there any fundamental the last question he asked, which I remember, was like, is there any fundamental opposition to like seeing if we could use libpack? Um, and I think we were like, Costas and I are like, well, we don't have any history to say like, well, like no, there's no reason to say no, but like we don't know what that means yet in terms of like converting it all over. If it's basically like a painless thing that just is like, well, yeah, no problem, right? If it breaks a whole bunch of stuff and causes tons of work, then it might be a challenge. But
Yeah, I think converting to libpack would be a little bit more difficult. The design philosophy between the two differs like it doesn't like they fundamentally are doing the same thing, but like the way that Packet interfaces, like you're doing a lot more straight building of things yourself, which may or may not
yeah,
be a good thing as part of certain parts of the ecosystem. Um, yeah, I don't know. Uh, it's an interesting idea.
yeah, I don't know if like I haven't looked at all, but like, would it even be possible for Packet to consume libpack to do some of this stuff? I don't know. If that's like a crazy idea. That's one way to make it so like you end up achieving the goal without having to like change all the dependents.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the most optimal thing to do is like find a way for Packet to consume Bard essentially, or vice or like yeah, I get the sort of not wanting to create a new Bard, but like maybe doing some middle road compromise. So like, and then maybe I should comment this in here. And uh maybe this is something that we should bring up here. But like maybe just starting a new uh library
Mm,
and have it, like not necessarily be libpack, but like X library, and that's where you put this sort of shared logic between the two, and then we
right.
make slight changes to packet and libpack on either side.
Right. Okay. Because yeah, that's a little bit of like from what I was hearing you say was like, well, Packet may actually do some more stuff for you. So like, it could something still doing that makes sense versus saying like, hey, we moved over to the thing and you've got now got to do that all individually. And I think what you just suggested is a little bit the same thing too, to say like, okay,
Like maybe start slowly extracting components that we would like to see unified. I think that the Frankly, I think that the biggest problem that we're going to have to overcome if we want to do something like a unified library is fundamentally that we have different philosophies on what the author should have to do as part of the build pack process. So if you spend any time looking at the libpack build packs, a lot of the layer construction aspects are abstracted away from you. Um, Maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's not. I think that one of the decisions that was made at the beginning of Packet was like we would prefer to have like redundant code in various repositories. Like I think a good example of this is like when you go to like a dependency providing build pack, the code for that almost looks universally identical across all of them because frankly they're kind of all doing the same thing, right? They're downloading a thing, putting it in
Yeah.
they're like checking a checksum, downloading a thing, putting it somewhere, the whole nine yards. But um when you want to do something that's outside the box, it's a little bit harder if you have this frame of constructors, right? Like so like I'm sure y'all are highly aware, if you go to something like npm install, you're doing some pretty complicated logic to get like the right the right in oh god the right node modules installed during build, and then a different set of node modules installed during launch. And that's to allow for testing, construction, the whole nine yards, right?
Yeah.
um and that's much harder to do inside of a place that has like a sort of constructor paradigm. So I think the hardest thing is going to be like potentially bridging the gap between those two things. Um, yeah, and I don't know how that's going to work, but like slowly pulling out shared context would be good, right? Having a universal logging thing would be good. Having like we should really only have like one sort of set of unarchiving logic, right?
Mhm.
So that we can deal
Yeah.
with the widest set of archives. We should probably realistically only have one solution for downloading things, because then we can like universally add things like retry logic, uh like client customization, that sort of thing. There's like shared stuff that I think should be shared between the two different paradigms. I think that fundamentally there's going to be some challenges, and maybe like I don't know. I think there's going to be some challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think, yeah,
Anyway, I wouldn't have any problems with trying this out somewhere,
yeah.
but I also maybe I should come in here and double read through this and double check and be like, hey, maybe it would make sense and save us a lot of time if we extracted this library and made it so that we could install it elsewhere. And then you could even do stuff where like you keep backwards compatibility for the old logging and you allow for the new one, so you can slowly just go in and replace the logging as you kind of go along.
Right.
I don't know, maybe that's the right call. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's not a, it's a thorny.
We have a lot of integration tests that are based on the logging output.
Yep.
yeah,
So there might be, and there are spaces, you have different tabs and stuff like that.
yeah, for sure.
If you change it, you might have to go through all the integration tests. And
I think that's absolutely the case,
Yep.
and that's going to be, I think, the hardest work. All right. Anything else on
Okay.
this? Um, I personally don't have any feedback on multi-arch build packs, or I don't have anything for decoupled dependencies. I'm contemplating honestly closing out that RFC.
Yeah, I think like Costas has been working on the multi-arch for
Yeah.
UBI, so we're looking to have that. And it kind of seems like the pieces, like the approach is defined, the pieces are in place.
Yeah.
There's like not all of it's integrated into the common config files, but like some of the work that Costas is doing, we're hoping will integrate both like are having multiple run images and the multiple multi-arc together and make that easier. So I would kind of agree. Like, I don't know that there's a proposal needed anymore in the sense of there's a stack that does it and and it can be done for other stacks. It's just work.
Yeah.
There are a few problems. Like, Costa's first working on the stack side. We've taken a quick advanced look at like building some of the node build packs. There's a couple PRs. I think at least one you were flagged as a reviewer it's either in
Jam. Yes.
Jam and
Oh, yeah.
also I had to open two PRs, one in Jam, thanks for reminding me, and one in the test Occam. Because
Yeah.
it seems like the support is really, I'll say, fragile. Like, if you find the one invocation pattern that works, it works, but otherwise it doesn't. Like, you can't give it a targ zip or it just does the run thing. But if
Mm-hmm.
you do it in unzipped directory, it works okay. And like,
Yeah.
there's things like that. So like Occam was building things in a way that didn't match that one way that works. So like I have a PR to say like, okay, well, let's shift it to unzip. We're going to unzip the target zip. We're going to CD into the directory and then we're going to run it there. And okay, now it works, right? And that'll work either way.
Yeah.
And Jam, it was just like a matter of like I think, well, actually the PR might not have been to Jam. I think it was to the underlying thing that understands the structure of the build pack of like the build pack.toml, because like it didn't understand architectures, and then as Jam added the version it would strip those out because it's like, well, I'm reading it in, I'm adding some data, writing it out, and
Yeah.
it's like those don't exist, and it's like, okay, well, that doesn't help me. So but there's a few things like that, and there might be a few more that, like, if you can help take a look at and get landed, would be helpful in that effort.
Yeah. Gotcha. If you could just send them to me, I will take a look at them.
Okay, yeah, I'll dig those out and I'll paste them to you in Slack.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Is there anything else? Any other thing else that people like to comment on the RFCs? All right.
Separately on the RFC topic, I do have I've sort of added to my backlog, planning to add a few. One, I wondered, like, the promotion of the Node.js extension to non-experimental, like into build packs. Would that be a Node RFC, or would that be like a Buildpacks RFC? And I guess similarly, like, I was thinking about, like, it's probably time to at least get the discussion on, like, hey, can we promote the UBI stack? And then we'd also like suggest a new a UBI 9 stack as well. But like, those ones, it's like, is it the specific teams or is it the larger group that needs to agree to those?
I think currently they are maintained by the specific team, so the specific teams would be the ones that would have to approve them.
Okay. Okay, so I'll open, like, for the stack ones, I'd open one in the stack, wherever, and for the node one, it would be in like the node repo.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any CNB updates? I don't have any updates. I think that there's a Cloud Foundry Day happening right now. But it's not strictly CNB related. It's potentially something interesting to check out, and there may be some talks generated from that.
Okay.
Project update. I do not have a project update off the top of my head. And then finally, should we set up a standard for handling stale issues? I was asked to go talk to the Cloud Foundry TOC. And there was a question about potentially automating the marking and removal of issues inside of repos. I don't think that it's super 100% necessary at the moment. This is just someone who brought it up in the meeting, and they were like, well, we noticed that we had this and this, and I was like, I don't know that it's a huge problem right now. I don't know that any of our repositories are like overrun with issues at the current moment, but yeah, they pointed me at this RFC. You could take a look at it. If it's something we're interested in, we could bring it up and talk about it in future sessions. I just wanted to float it here.
Yeah, we have been like looking at the issues across the node repos, and there are some quite old ones.
Mhm.
So like it kind of comes down like for me and like on some other projects we added in a stale bot, and like at least in one project it worked quite well in terms of like as soon as it went stale, that's been like a trigger for the team to say, wait a second, we've ignored this one for too long, right? Like we actually like would either look at it and say, yeah, that really is stale, let it go, or let's put it on this other list. And this other list we're going to review to make sure that we're actually doing something on things that are like older than 90 days or whatever, so that we don't just like totally forget them. So it's kind of like if you got a team who's going to then like look at them and it's a trigger, then it's actually in some ways kind of an interesting thing. In other projects, it's like, oh, it's going to close way too many things. So yeah, I don't think there's a one fit all answer, but I just wanted to mention that like in that one case, it actually turns out to be less about them closing, but like more about like, hey, we've gotten some notification. We actually have to do something to avoid them just being closed, which people are like, oh no, this one shouldn't just be closed, right?
Yeah, I gotcha. All right. Anything else that people want to talk about? Sweet.
Okay.
See y'all.
Talk to y'all later. Bye.